it's not as deep as I thought it was, or there's no reason to even be giving so much weight to these words that this person is throwing at me. And I end up just laughing about it, going, you know what, this doesn't actually matter. You know, like it only matters or is hurting me because I'm letting it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you are now about to witness
the journey that is the Lyfe Choyces podcast.
Yeah! That's just basically what it is.
Yeah, it's good.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Peter.
Thanks. Back again.
Back again.
Bro, this place looks so sick.
Thank you very much.
I'm so stoked for you.
Yeah, this is your 4th episode.
Yeah, man.
You're now in the lead. There's 1 or 2 other people that have done 3, but you're the only one that's done 4.
Fuck yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, all my close friends, actually, we were talking about this yesterday, and even TJ's like, yeah, man, like I really like Pete. He's a cool guy.
Damn, dude, that means a lot. Thank you.
And right after, he's like, fuck, man, I need to get some more ink. Like, I'm like, dude, so do I, you know? And he's like, yeah, I got to get some car shit going. And I'm like, yeah, I want to get my, like, kind of like, I'm not jumping right on the face or the neck, because I do want to do that. But like I want like the side that's on the face in front of the ear.
Yeah,
and
like
I
the
want
sideburn.
more of the actual ear done as well.
Yeah,
as
same.
a kind of like, all right, I'm getting there, you know?
You have inside your ear done now, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like the sideburn too. I want to do my sideburn area eventually. Or like, you know, right now I have no hair on the side of my head.
Oh yeah, you could do
something around the ear, some shit.
Full side, absolutely.
Eventually. You'll do your face though, or is that what you mean by your face? No,
when I say my face, I mean like
sideburn,
just that side, because I don't foresee myself ever not having a beard. It's just part of me. It's like part of the image of the Birdman.
Sure.
And I just never, I was never as comfortable as I once was without a beard as I am with the beard.
Yeah.
So,
valid.
And I'm in the stage right now, like I'm really at that point where I'm understanding the importance of being you and just creating the best life you can create for yourself by loving yourself.
Yeah, nice.
And for me, I'm like, fuck it, I'm growing my beard.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm growing my fucking beard. I'm cleaning it when I have to so that it can look nice.
Sure.
But I have a job, you know, with the right family on the right vessel that they enjoy what I do for them. So I don't have to worry anymore about shit like that, which is such a relief because I just want to live my life the way I want to live it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. How's everything going at the tattoo shop?
Bro, great. Really can't complain. Staying busy, trying to stay busy, you know, just, doing my thing every day. I'm very grateful, man. Every day kind of feels the same, but I'm like such a creature of habit and routine that like that's exactly how I want it, you know?
I realize now more than anything, I need routine.
Yeah.
On the days that are not really specifically done, like when I falter by staying in bed for 10 extra minutes or not staying on the agenda of what I've put out for the day.
Yeah.
I create guilt for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
Totally. Yeah, I can definitely be the same way. And I'm sort of in that mode right now where like I'm really trying to get on point with like my morning routine and the things that I want to do every day to like get where I want to be. And like obviously I know what they are, but like a big part of that is me like waking up earlier in the morning and like starting my day earlier than I do. And that's sort of been a struggle for me for a long time. You know, I've been tattooing for almost 4 years now, but prior to that, I was in nightlife for almost 10 years, you know, sleeping all day, working 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. and then sleeping all day until I had to go back to work. You know, I did that for a long time. And it's my own fault that I haven't broken out of that habit yet because I've sort of just, you know, I make my own schedule now. So I have the luxury of like still being able to have fucked up sleep hours and then just tattooing at 3 p.m. instead of 10 a.m.
Yeah, you have the luxury, but you also have the misfortune of creating a routine that you may not want.
Sure, right.
It's kind of like it's a double-edged sword, right? Because like,
it's
absolutely.
On me.
You can do whatever you want. You can book all your appointments 3 in the afternoon, 7 at night. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
But will that make you happy?
Right. And so I still like, you know, I'm grateful for that aspect that I can choose when I want to work. And I still think I am going to keep it 3 and 7 o'clock. It's funny that you said those times. You know better than anyone when I schedule my appointments. I usually do a 3 o'clock and a 7 o'clock. And I think I'm going to keep it that way. But rather than sleeping until 11 and then just spending those couple hours before my appointment hanging out with Bruce and bullshitting around the house getting stuff done, I'm really trying to like be more careful about how I allocate my time in the morning and literally planning out like a structured morning routine. And I think we talked about this a little bit on my last episode, but I have like literally a checklist, which includes like brushing my teeth and flossing because it feels good to check the box and start the day with like, getting shit done. Because like you said, when you don't do those things, you create like this guilt for yourself, and you're almost starting your day off like, fuck, I skipped that thing, you know? And it kind of makes it easy to snowball into making more decisions like that. Where if you start the day doing all the things you know you're supposed to do, it makes it easy to like kind of trend in that direction for the rest of the day. And like the difficult things that actually present themselves later on are easier to tackle, in my mind, when I've like already got that momentum in the morning. You know, a guy that you like a lot, 𝐿CY&x, is that how you say his last name?
Yeah.
I've been listening to him a lot lately. He has a lot of really good content, and something that he said the other day that I liked was he has like a check-in system with himself. Like he'll when he writes, like he doesn't call it a gratitude list, but when he like does his check-in and writes in his journal, he's journaling to his 85-year-old self.
Oh, wow.
And he does that because it's like the ultimate accountability, because you know whether you gave 100% or whether you did the work or not, or if you actually didn't have time, or did you just not make the time, or did you just you know, like, you know better than anyone. Where you could have an accountability partner, and then, you know, I could call you and say like, hey, I'm going to call you every day, so I make sure I write my gratitude list, and I'll call you after it's done so I know. But you don't know whether I just jotted some shit down real quick and said like, oh yeah, I got it done, you know? But I know. So whatever, I really liked that he said that, and it sort of has been resonating with me lately with that morning routine where no one else is going to know if I didn't do one of the things on that list, and no one else is going to care or think anything of it, but I know. And it doesn't, I create that guilt for myself when I don't check all those boxes, and it does the exact opposite when I do check all the boxes. It fucking fuels me up and makes me feel good and confident for the day that like I do the things that I say I'm going to do. And that, I think, is like it's a characteristic that I would like to be able to have. You know, I don't think that I'm great at it all the time, but it's like something that I'm actively working on. I want to be someone that says when I'm going to do something, I do it and I follow through. Or when I say I'm going to be somewhere, I show up.
And you're 100% correct. Nobody's going to know if you do these things or not. Nobody but you.
Right.
And you're the only person responsible for how you feel. We both agree on that.
I think it's also important not to like beat yourself up too much in those moments where you realize you fell short. It's just like, don't do it again tomorrow. When you wake up tomorrow, you know how you got to act so that you don't feel this way again tomorrow, because you don't want to feel like this. And but it's like, recognize that and then move on. There's no point in like sitting in that guilty feeling. It's not doing you any good either. But another thing I wanted to add, that I had a mentor when I used to work for Southern Wine and Spirits, this guy Chris Fratalia, who was an awesome guy. Shout out Chris Fratalia. But he used to do this thing that still sticks with me today, and I've modified it a little bit for myself. But he would always wear a button-down shirt that had a pocket in the front, and he would always have an index card in that pocket, always, at any time you saw him. And in that index card was like his to-do list for the day, like things that he first thing in the morning, whatever, he'd get his day started, and he'd write like his checklist for the day of things he needed to get done. Simple like reminders, you know, it's not like a gratitude list. Completely separate from like anything spiritual here. This is just like a productivity list. But things that you wanted to get done for the day. And he would add to it constantly throughout the day too. If, you know, we'd have a meeting and I'd be like, hey, Chris, can you help me with this meeting tomorrow? Can you come meet me at this account? He would take out his fucking thing and add it to his list. So he remembered to be prepared for the meeting tomorrow, whatever. And then at the end of every day, he would go through that list and cross off the things that he accomplished, and anything that he didn't accomplish would get carried over to the next day's note card. So then he'd start a fresh note card, but whatever wasn't crossed off from yesterday's note card got brought into today's. And that way, it's like this checks and balances and accountability system where like you'd feel sort of silly writing the same thing on that to-do list 3 days in a row, you know? And so like, yeah, it's okay that you didn't get it done, but it's also not going anywhere until you do. And after that third day of me writing the same thing on the checklist, I'm like, Josh, I really got to get this thing done, you know? But it also, you know, it keeps you from like forgetting stuff too. And like, it's just, it's something that now I've implemented myself, where I also have 2 notebooks, like I see you have over there on your desk. One of them is my gratitude list notebook. And then the other one is just like a daily checklist where typically in the morning or at whatever time I'm able to get that gratitude list done, I'll then pull out the other notebook, and I've got everything I want to tackle that day, or sometimes it's like that week. You know I might not get all this done today, but it's like on my to-do list. And then same thing, I'll flip the page the next day. Whatever didn't get done gets carried over, and it's just it's a good way for me to not like let things fall through the cracks or overlook anything. And it just keeps me from procrastinating a little bit, because I do feel stupid writing the same thing on the list multiple days in a row, knowing the only way I'm going to get to stop writing this is just by getting the thing done.
I have a long to-do list in my phone of things that like, and they're in order of importance, right? Like things that I have to get done for the studio, things I have to get done for work, things I have to get done for my personal life. And what I do is I actually like erase it, as in like when it's done, I take it off the list, and like 21 items goes down to 15, goes down to 10, comes back up to 12.
Sure.
So, but I want to get into that practice. I like the idea of writing it down, because I feel like when you write it down, you're a bit more, you're showing up for yourself a lot more, because you're looking at that list. And even when it's done, you can cross it off. And like in a week from now, you can look back and be like, well, I was able to accomplish all those things. So why am I lacking today? Why is my energy low? Like, why am I not getting my shit done?
Yeah.
When I know I can do that shit.
Right. And I think those questionable moments of why did I not get this done, or why am I feeling this way, will happen a lot less when you've got all this accountability and systems in your life. You know, if you're feeling some type of way, or you're feeling that guilt, or you're feeling like you're not being productive, the answer is probably right there in that notebook. You know, if you're doing all these things every day, most of the time, I think you know the answer to those questions. You know, if you really look back on how you've spent your time and allocated your energy, it's that, you know, you're not doing the things that you knew you needed to do, or you've been putting something off that.
And once you, what I'm learning recently is once you start learning to live in the moment of the feeling that you want in the future, you start living your future in the present.
Yeah, nice.
For example, if someone wanted to go down the path you went down, right? They're like, oh man, I really want to get to that point where like I have my own tattoo shop and I have all these clients coming in, and it's going to be so great when I have that they're not, that's going to be harder for them to get there, because they're waiting for that moment to create the success feeling that they want in them,
right,
instead of creating the feeling of the success, so that when they get there, they can say, well, I've been feeling this way the whole time. So I've had the success from day one.
It's yeah, I think I know exactly what you're saying. And there's like two folds to that, I think, in my mind. For the people that don't talk like the law of attraction language that we talk, and the manifestation mumbo jumbo that I love to talk all the time. And I say mumbo jumbo as a joke. I take it very seriously, but I know not everybody does. Some people hear that and they like fucking roll their eyes, and that's okay. I don't really care.
But those people are not listening to this podcast, because the people that listen to this are on our same page. And if they're not on our page, they're willing to listen to see what it's about.
Sure. And for those people, I think the way that they could hear that message you just said and like relate, is you almost have to like fall in love with the process. That's kind of a cliched thing to say, or like fall in love with the journey. But to use my path as an example, like it was years before I had my own space, you know, but I was super grateful to just be working towards that, you know, and like, no, and here's where the manifestation and like my law of attraction mindset sort of comes into play. But like, it's because I knew in my heart that like I was gonna get to that point and I was gonna make it happen. But at the same time, I was just happy to be doing something that I actually enjoyed every day. You know, coming from the restaurant business, like we were saying, where I was working 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. all the time, it was like such a grind, and I was so burnt out that even though I wasn't in the place of tattooing that I wanted to be, I didn't have my own shop, I wasn't making the amount of money that I wanted to make yet, I was just grateful to be doing something that I actually enjoyed, you know, and not in the restaurant anymore, and knowing that I'm taking the steps every day to get to where I want to be. And it became fun, you know, and maybe it's a little bit unique for me because like tattooing is fun, you know, and I guess that's probably not the case for everyone. There's probably some finance guy that is thinking like, it's not so fun.
It not necessarily is fun, because someone who's an artist that thinks about becoming a tattoo artist finds out it's not fun for them. They don't continue on that line and they don't become a successful tattoo artist.
Sure.
It was fun for you because you had a passion within you. And do you believe that your success came because you were already successful, feeling like you already had the feeling of what it was going to be like to get that shop in the future? Like you didn't question whether or not you were going to get your own space. You were living a life knowing that this is making me feel amazing, right? And I want to feel this emotion all the time.
Right.
And in order for me to do that, I need to get to that spot. But I'm in, like, you already encapsulized the feeling of what one gets when they get the success.
Right.
And how do you believe that that's a big part of why you got the success?
Yeah. And again, I think there's two folds to that answer. For me and my way that I am, yeah, 100%. And like, I don't necessarily even know the science behind it or the quantum physics, whatever it's called, about how energy and vibrations work. But I know when I feel that way about the vision that I've got in my head, that it's like I'm aligned and I feel like I'm on the right path and I can dive headfirst into that thing. But also enjoying what I was doing so much and having that confidence in what I was doing and having the support that I had as I started doing it from everyone in my life. That feeling is also like worth chasing, and not in like the spiritual sense, but just in people that don't think about law of attraction and manifesting. When you're enjoying doing something, like, it's easy to get passionate about it because I want to keep feeling that way and I want to get to keep doing this, and yeah, it's not like every day is super fun. There's obviously like stress that's involved in running a business,
and life itself is challenging.
Yeah, sure.
And those challenges show up that have nothing to do with what it is that you're passionately going after. Example, my car's taking a shit on me again.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's a challenge. It's like, okay, like, after this podcast, I got to figure out, is my car going to work? Am I going to have to call my roommate to come pick me up? Am I leaving my car where it is overnight, getting probably multiple tickets? But it's like, I'm not going to let that affect me.
Sure.
Because that's just a thing. That's just a thing that happens in life. It's not going to prevent me from enjoying what I have right now.
Yeah, totally.
And on the point of on the discussion of feelings and having that feeling inside of you, when I drive around town right now, I actually get moments of just complete happiness where I'm just smiling for no reason. And it's almost like the more I practice the laws of attraction, the less I have to think about the laws of attraction. And it just becomes second nature, where instead of driving down the road with a somber face and just kind of chilling, listening to my music, I actually like get an overwhelming feeling where I just smile and I'm like, I'm fucking good right now.
Yep.
I got my puppy beside me heading to the studio. I'm driving the speed limit. I'm literally, maybe because of the car I have, but I'm driving 30 down a 35 road. So I'm going onto the speed limit. And I'm just enjoying that drive to get to work. And when I get to work, I have this overwhelming feeling of pride because I've not allowed anybody to get in my way to get me to where I am 1 year from where I was.
Yeah.
And it feels fucking really good to know that I'm in charge of how I feel. And if I want to have more of this feeling, I know what I have to do to get it.
Yeah.
I just keep thinking certain things and learning how to kind of navigate the thoughts that come in or navigate the challenges that come at me in a daily life to not knock me right off my course.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I could have beaten my car, thrown my toys out of the toy box, and I could have called you and said, listen, dude, I got to cancel because my fucking truck. Nah.
Yeah.
Just like, close the hood. TJ, I'll holler at you after the podcast. If I can't get it to work, I'll call you to pick me up.
Yeah.
Like, not even a problem.
Yeah.
Just continue on with life.
I was talking to my sister today because my previous episode with you just came out, and so she watched the full episode, and it was something, I think I've already said it again in this episode, but when I talk about the law of attraction, I love to be like, yeah, I don't know the science of how it works, because I really don't. I just know it fucking works for me. I don't understand why, but I just know it works. But my sister heard me say that, and she studied like neuroscience in college or something, so she actually understands a lot of how it works, and she sent me a bunch of long texts today breaking it down and explaining it, and I won't butcher it trying to re-say what she said, but the way that I sort of interpreted it was like, our brain is like a muscle, and these things that you and I are doing each day, like these gratitude lists and meditating and these things that we're doing, it's like working that muscle and conditioning it. Like, I've conditioned myself over the last 10, 15 years of doing this stuff to almost default to like the silver lining in every situation. We're making the best out of whatever, trying to find the positive and not letting the negative overwhelm me, or like, not to say I never have negative thoughts or I never get upset about anything, but when I do, I don't really let it like consume my day or my mood for very long. And obviously it happens sometimes. It's not like I'm perfect at it, but I've been practicing for years, and not to let that happen. And I think a lot of these little tools and things we talk about, like the gratitude list, is a
They're
big
helpful.
part of growing that muscle and exercising that muscle and sitting down and reflecting every day for the things that you're grateful for and feeling that feeling of like abundance and gratitude, even when you don't have it, especially when you don't have it.
Not allowing yourself to get knocked off your path because of the negative thoughts. And yes, we all will always have negative thoughts. That's part of life. For some reason, all things negative are easier to think about, easier to dwell on, easier to hold on to than happy things.
Sure.
I'm glad you brought this up. Last night, a situation happened in my personal life. Completely like we'll get into more detail afterwards,
Sure.
but like it's absolutely hilarious, right? And it happened. I fixed it. I took Sushi for a walk. Clearly that negative energy was in me and the old Bradley was ready to fucking explode, dude. Like, I mean, like he was.
I didn't know there was an old Bradley.
Oh,
I never heard about him.
He was ready to destroy someone's life.
Oh,
like, I don't know if you've ever been that person.
Sure.
But that's in us. That's in every single human being. But the strength comes from knowing you can and not doing it.
Yeah, sure.
And so the situation I was in last night, and all this stuff happens really, really quickly in your brain in like nanoseconds. In that moment, I really started thinking about what was going on. And because I've been practicing all these things, and like your sister is saying, I've been strengthening that muscle or those muscles in my brain that allowed me to not be overcome with the hatred and the negativity and the desire for revenge.
Yeah.
I started smiling. I started laughing and thinking how inconsequential that person was that was trying to do something that was harming my personal life.
Yeah.
And I laughed about it. Like I literally laughed about it. And then I thought to myself, I remember saying this last night while I'm fucking sitting there stoned out of my mind. I said, God, I'm so grateful that you've allowed me to experience this emotion and choose to change it into something that is just silly and funny because I'm a bigger, better, and stronger person because I'm not allowing that to actually ruin anything.
Yeah.
And I was able to go to bed last night just as content as I did the day before, as if that situation never happened.
Good.
Inside of all of our brains, there are multiple versions of oneself.
Sure.
You see yourself. I see myself differently every day in different moods and different challenges, excitements, happiness, sadness. Like there's different versions of you all over the place. And as we develop and grow, once we choose to look within and change our lives for the better, we let go, we shed, we let go of certain personalities that we once had so that we can become a better person. And it's interesting to me to think about all the different versions that I have in my head about myself.
Sure.
And then outwardly think, how many people interpret you differently, like within your inner circle, right? Like your close friends, they each have their own interpretation of you. They don't think of you the same way you think of you.
Right.
And then like other people that have been in your life, your parents, your ex-girlfriends.
Almost everyone in your life probably thinks of you in a different way.
There's probably 500 million versions of you out there in people's minds. And it's I don't know. I think it's a very interesting thing to think about.
It is. My brain defaults to like, and I know this is easier said than done, but my initial thought is like, it really shouldn't matter the version that exists in other people's heads, right? Like, like we were talking about earlier about writing to your 85-year-old self, you know who you are and what your intentions are and the type of person that you are. And so there's really no point in thinking too much about how other people think of you,
the perception that other people have on you, like we say all the time, doesn't fucking matter.
Sure.
Their impressions of you should not determine how you act, think, talk, feel, dress, any of that stuff. It's whatever makes you happy. Absolutely. I just find it interesting to think. And more importantly, like the people that are closest to me, because they're the ones that know you the most. They're the ones that you share those little tidbits about your life. They're the ones that see you like me and my boys, like we know each other so well, right? Like we know when someone's having an off day. Some of us kind of fly off the deep end a bit more, and we know that about them, and that person knows that about them. And we love each other for it. it's just interesting to me because I love the psychology of the brain. I love the psychology of people. And just to think like, and again, I only care about what I think about myself when I look in the mirror, but it's interesting
It is.
because there's so many different brains out there and so many different people are going through so many different things and everyone interprets it differently. The perspective on everybody is just different.
It is interesting. And although, I mean, this might contradict what I just said, although I don't like try to give very much weight to what other people think of me, I do try to live my life in a way as if I want to have a positive effect on everyone's life, you know? Um, and so, like, in a sense, I do sort of try to move as if I want everyone to like me. It's not with those intentions necessarily, but I feel like that's it's, I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say necessarily.
I'm going to take a stab at it.
Yeah.
I think you strategically move and act the way you do because of the abundance of happiness that you have on a more regular basis than most people, because of the choices you've made in life to live a certain way, that you just really hope that everyone else can live or experience the same energy or vibration that you have.
At least while they're around me, you know, like
Exactly.
why yes, okay, you nailed. I don't really want to ever bring the energy down in any situation, you know? And I think like that's helped with some of like that frustration and anger side that I have as well, you know, where um sometimes like you have to like not take stuff personal. And I mean, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but it's just like things that you've been saying are like reminded me of all sorts of random examples. And like, I can be the same way. I don't know that I necessarily have like an old Pete. Maybe I do, but there's definitely a side of me that like gets frustrated and angry sometimes, you know? And a lot of the times I come to the same conclusion you came to where it's not as deep as I thought it was, or there's no reason to even be giving so much weight to these words that this person is throwing at me. And I end up just laughing about it, going, you know what, this doesn't actually matter. You know, like it only matters or is hurting me because I'm letting it, you know? And if I decide that this doesn't matter and I don't need to keep entertaining this in my brain, then it's not a problem anymore. And I don't know if that was so vague because I'm thinking of the specific example in my head that you don't know,
Right.
but
But what you're saying isn't vague at all because you're aligning with what I'm saying about the situation I went through. Is it's a simple fact of things only have power when you give it power.
yeah,
And when negative things or challenges come at you, that most people would absorb it and allow it to come in and fuck them up for the day
right,
because they're giving it energy. They're giving their entire being's energy to that negativity
right,
and allowing it to enter their body even more. Where I have a few years on you, I have a lot of years on you,
sure,
but you've been practicing what we practice a lot longer than I have.
sure,
So the fact that you may not have an old Pete, where I know I have an old, vindictive, angry, aggressive person in me. Like I had that person was around for a very, very long time. And it was later in my life that I came to this conclusion. So I'm able to say that person no longer exists, but he's there.
something that I used to be very guilty of, and I've gotten a lot better about it lately. But like arguing with someone in my head, like all fucking day, you know, and then never even having the conversation with them because I don't want the confrontation or I don't want, you know, it's not, I end up realizing after arguing all day with myself that it's not that deep and it's not worth the conversation. But at that point, it's like ruined my whole day. And I like to think I'm not the only one that's ever done that. But I've gotten a lot better about it. And like, even just practicing that, you can, I mean, I apply that to all sorts of things, not even just arguing with people in my head, but just, you know, fucking road rage, someone cuts you off in traffic. I can get real pissed real fast, but I now like laugh, you know, and I just realize, God, everyone's so fucking bad at driving. It's ridiculous. Thank God I don't drive a motorcycle anymore. You know, like there's no reason to get that mad at that guy because he's not even gonna hear what I had to say. And it's not gonna fucking change his day. He doesn't care. They're like, why am I ruining my day over nothing? You know, you're just giving it power when you don't need to.
And again, I'll say like, I don't I don't have a new car. I have an old car that needs love and can't be pushed too hard. So when I'm driving back and forth from the studio, it's a pretty straight shot. I'm just going straight down Dixie. And I got my dog. I'm literally like, when I say I'm living the life I always wanted, it is uncanny to me how happy I am, because I always wanted to have like that truck, and I always wanted to have that well-maintained dog.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be that guy driving with the windows down and the dog sitting there, you know, just
Yeah,
kind of,
man.
you know what I mean? And like, I do that every single day, where I'm at the point now where there's a lot of traffic certain times of the day. And I'm just like to everyone, I'm just like, yeah, go. Now, not
Yeah.
everyone, because I don't want to piss off the people behind me
Sure,
like
right.
too much, but it's like one or two cars. And then I go and I'm just like, you know what? Why not?
Yeah, man. I
Why
love
not?
it. That's great.
And living the life that I always wanted, we always tend to like envision things that we want in the future. Like you're 14, you want to drive, right? When you get the license to drive, now you want to be able to go to a bar, right? And like we forget to like enjoy what's going on around us,
Totally.
because we don't really know. We don't really have the information when we're younger, or maybe we're not willing to listen to the idea of being present. And we both know where we're going in life. We both know that we are going to be above and beyond our visions of success. They're going to show up because of the path we're choosing to go on. But we're both thoroughly enjoying every fucking step of the way. Like every emotion that I feel in a day, whether it's a warm blanket of happiness or a challenge comes my way that like might kind of like push me off the road, I'm so aware of enjoying that. And like something as simple as anonymity, I think that's the word, anonymity, where nobody knows you yet, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
because
Okay.
like you're successful because you believe it, but you're not the visible success that's going to be, because you're going to get there. And when that happens, you have to be aware of what's going to happen to you in your life. You have to be prepared to understand all of the challenges that will come with being a visibly successful person. And that is why I think I'm able to really hone in on the present moment and enjoy building out my studio, you building out your studio, you know, the little intricacies of like, fuck, I put that together. Like, look at where I was a year ago. Look at where I am now, you know, and remembering that I remember what I did December. I remember what I did October. I remember what I did in August. And I remember how I was feeling in those moments.
Right. Yeah.
And like living the life I always wanted, but knowing that I'm doing that now is probably one of the best feelings I've had.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that like made me think of, and kind of tying into what we were just saying, I've like kind of reflected a lot over the last year or so. And when I think about like every shitty situation, or like anytime like something really bad happened, it was, now looking back on it, it was sort of like a pivotal point in my life that got me to where I'm at now. So like without those shitty situations, I might not be living this amazing life that I get to live every day. And obviously in the moments when those shitty things happened, I wasn't thinking, "Ooh, this was such a blessing, you know, like thank God I feel like shit right now. I'll love this later." I was fucking miserable thinking, I don't know if like is everything going to be okay? Like I may never bounce back from this. Am I ever going to be able to get another job, or am I ever going to find another girl? You know, like, and we've all had moments like that where you're thinking like, "Oh my God, is my life over?" Or like, you know, even if you don't actually think it might be over, it feels really low. You know, we've all had those moments. And now when I look back on it, every one of those, even if it wasn't like a pivotal moment that changed my life and got me where I am, it gave me a character trait, or like I learned a lesson from it that has made me the man that I am today. And so I wouldn't change any of it, you know? And now that's like, I try to remind myself that when those shitty moments pop up, or, you know, when someone says something nasty to you, or a relationship doesn't work out, or a deal falls through and things seem like they're not going in your favor, I try to remind myself, maybe this is exactly how it's supposed to happen. You know, like that deal fell through because I wasn't supposed to do business with that person. Or, you know, that relationship fell through because that wasn't the person for me. And maybe I just didn't see it at the time, but I guarantee a year from now when I'm reflecting and I'm where I see myself being, I'm going to look back and go, man, thank God that shit happened exactly how it did. Because I keep saying that year after year.
I love this. I love this topic. I believe and I say those words a lot, I have been there. I've absolutely been in my bed, bawling my eyes out. Fuck, my life is over. I can't believe she left me. Fuck, can't believe I lost that job. Fuck, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go on. I'm 46. You're
29.
29. We're here.
Yeah.
Right? We can say, I've talked about this before. It's a Steve Harvey thing.
100% survivability rate.
100%,
Yeah.
right? Like, because no matter what we have fucking gone through, no matter what you've gone through out there, you've survived to this day because you're still here. But here's the thing. Because I had this thought, so far, I fucking love talking with you because I had this thought like the past couple of nights, like I've really done, like I always do a lot of introspective, like thinking before bed.
Yeah.
And I think to myself of all those times in my fucking 20s that I was that miserable person that was like, holy fuck, am I going to survive?
Yeah.
We've gotten to a point now, like right now at my age, at 46, my experience, I know that whatever comes my way for the next 50 years, right? I'll be 96 years old and I'm fine with getting there.
You got that in the bag.
Whatever happens over the next 50 years, no matter what it is, no matter what is taken away from me, no matter what is given to me, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And because we believe that, because of all the experiences that we had before leading us up to where we are now, we're able to have the ability that when a new situation comes up, we are actually able in that moment, think about your most recent time or two that I think we're talking about. In that moment, while the shit was flipping upside down, a part of you actually did say to yourself, but I'll be okay.
Yep.
Time is going to heal this and I'll be just fine.
Right.
That is a great fucking place. I'm so happy that that's where I'm at right now in my life. Yeah. And I hope that our conversations that we have on this podcast will help people out there that are going through this or having these thoughts like, you will be fine.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, not only like at this point, I think because I've just been able to give myself example after example over the years, not only do I feel like I'll be fine in those moments, and I shouldn't say in those moments because it isn't always instantaneous. Like sometimes those moments feel shitty. But when I sit down and, after some time goes by and I can reflect for some hours or a day or whatever, not only is it going to be fine, it usually ends up being like I'm so glad that it happened that way, like it teaches me a big lesson. Like the things that hurt the most usually teach you the most stuff, and when I think back on, just even the last 1 year, any like real difficult thing that I had to deal with, I think it happened exactly how it was supposed to. And I've grown a ton in this last year just as not in business, but like as an individual, because of those difficult moments I've had relationship wise in the last fucking even six months,
6 months, yeah.
But it's changed me a lot as a man and like for the better, I think. And it hurt a lot at certain moments. There was some really tough times during, there's a lot of emotion and feelings involved in shit like that, and I'm like a very, I don't want to say an emotional guy, but I'm very in touch, I think, with my emotions. And like I've said in the past, like I'm very protective of my feelings. And like, I work so hard to have this positive mindset and feel good every day that I'm protective of that, and when I think back on any of these tough times I've had, I don't want to say I wouldn't change anything because there's obviously conversations that I could have handled better, or things that I could have done better. Maybe old Pete came out at certain moments where I got a little frustrated and angry, but I think it's all worked out how it was supposed to, and I'm grateful for the lessons that I learned and the things that I got from that. And I think
it's powerful when you can understand that all of your challenges and or failures have created such a stronger individual within yourself that you're able to give that information to other people. And when you notice maybe a close friend is going through something, if they're willing to listen, you can give them the information, which is like, listen, dude, I get it. I totally had that feeling before when this happened to me.
Yeah.
This is what I did. This is where I'm at now. And I believe you can get there as well.
Yeah, man. And dude, the relationship one is so relatable, I feel like, because I think almost everyone has had some point in their life where like they're with that person for so long that they think that's the one. And when that thing ends, it feels like the end of the world. And sometimes it's not even a long-term relationship. Sometimes you just really fucking like somebody really fast or whatever. But almost everyone at some point in their life is going to experience a moment like that, where it feels like, fuck, I might never find anyone else like this. This might be it for me. Maybe I'm just going to hang it up. And it always ends up not being the case. It's going to be fine. And if anything, even if you don't end up finding somebody else, like we talked about on the last time I was on, you don't need somebody else. Dive into yourself, focus on the things that make you happy for you. And now you've got this time to just live the exact life you want. You don't have to be living for anybody else.
And you'll be amazed, as cliche as it might be, you'll be amazed at what you attract once you start fixing yourself.
Yeah, bro. So fucking true.
And that's everything. That's relationships. That's your career. That's your friendships. That's your all types of relationships, your family members.
Yeah, that's a good one.
When you that's where I'm at right now. Like, I spent most of my life chasing tail. I had a couple of 3-year-ish relationships that some were my fault, some were not my fault. Well, no, sorry. Let's take accountability. Even the ones where I was the one being mistreated, I was mistreating myself.
Yeah.
And therefore I am accountable for the failure of the relationship.
Sure.
Because I wasn't doing things that were healthy for me.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I'm a personality that has always enjoyed being alone. I like my time alone. I like my reflection.
Mm-hmm.
And so grateful that I've been able to always evaluate myself in an unbiased way as I've gotten older and kind of put myself on both sides of the fence when one might think, oh no, I was the victim. I was the victim. Like, no, I was a bit of the culprit as well.
Sure.
But now I'm at a state of mind where I only want to bring positive energy to the people around me.
Yes.
I don't want to do what I used to do, like when something shitty happens, talk to every single person in my life about it so that everyone can feel the same negative energy that I have.
Right.
I try to solve it myself and create an aura of positivity that when I say you can attract what you put out, it is unfucking real.
Yeah.
I'm going to use an example for today, which is it's so weird how this thing's happened. So I've taken it upon myself to do something today without cameras. Just be nice to people.
Yeah.
Okay. I gave someone a note. Okay. Yeah. A note good for anybody, just a nice gesture. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm walking from a park with sushi and I'm, hey, how you doing? Person says, oh, hi, I'm good. I'm like, oh, here, that's for you. Didn't look back. No, just walked away. Right. Mm-hmm. Probably about like not even an hour later, I'm sitting in the front room here at DNA Wellness. Shout out Brian Hernandez and DNA Wellness. And the same person walks in the door.
Shut the fuck
up. Seriously, dude. She walks in the door, sees me and smiles. And as she's walking to the desk to talk to Brian, she goes, oh my God, dude, what you did was so nice. That like just made me so happy. And right away I said, dude, I got goosebumps.
Oh my God, This is crazy.
And she comes in and books her and a friend for IVs for DNA Wellness.
Bro, what the fuck?
What the fuck, right?
So crazy, yeah.
So if anyone doesn't think that the energy you put out doesn't come back tenfold. Now that was like a moment of like
that's
instant,
yeah.
But
that's so
how
cool.
can I not continue doing it?
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. I want to implement that. I love that.
Dude, I was like, listen, I see it all the time on social media, right? People write notes. It's like a thing, like, or the person that pays for whatever.
Yeah, right.
But they always have their friend or they have their camera set up. So it's like, I've said this to people. I find it disingenuous.
Yeah, sure.
They're doing it, and I get it why they're doing it because they want the views and the subscribers and whatnot, right? But what you're not solely doing it because you're trying to be kind. It feels scummy,
right?
You know, I genuinely want people to feel good because I'm in a good fucking mood. If someone says, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm wonderfully fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. And right away they're instantly like, oh fuck, that's awesome.
Yeah. Right.
So I want to give people these notes because I know how it would make me feel if I read one of these notes.
The content that they will find on your channel is like right on brand with all that stuff. So like if this note made you feel better, they would probably also enjoy the content on your channel, and you're leaving it up to them if they want to check that out or not.
Yeah,
I love it,
100%.
dude. I think it's great. Yeah, that was on my checklist for a while, or like on my morning routine list that I used to have one on my phone that was like a repetitive, reoccurring list. And something that I had on there that maybe I'll throw back on because I liked it was just do something nice for someone. And a lot of times it was just like a gratitude text. I would just like find someone and text them and be like, hey man, just so thankful to have you in my life and everything that you do. But that just, you never know what anyone's dealing with. That like makes people's day sometimes.
I've done that. I love it. Yeah.
It feels nice.
Yep. I've reached out. Like I try, like, it's hard to do it because like you have so many people in your phone, and again, it's remembering to do something every day. But like I did it for a little bit where I would just send a quick message, say, hey buddy, I'm just checking in to see if you're doing good.
Yeah.
And the response is always like, oh, dude, thank you so much for doing that.
Right. 100%.
And I would love it if by me giving these notes out to people just because.
Right.
And again, it's in the area in which that we're in. And then if I'm somewhere else, obviously I'll still do it.
Yeah.
But I would love to just all of a sudden be walking around town and just see people constantly doing that.
Yeah.
Because my big thing is like, I want to bring back the human connection amongst everybody instead of this disconnect where everyone's just kind of in their phone, on their laptop, gaming, whatever. Like, let's get back to talking to each other. And if I could walk around and I could see so many people just handing other people like these really nice notes of like, hey, your smile's infectious, or, you know, you're surviving, keep moving forward, or like whatever the message is, right? Yeah. It would just be such a cool culture to have started.
Yeah, no, I love that. Absolutely. Something that you said earlier that I wanted to add to about like when you're dealing with a problem or something, you won't call all the people to like tell them about your problem and make them feel that way. My sister lately has been like my person that I can like vent to, and she's very I think unbiased. But she was a therapist for a long time, so she like usually has good insight on most things, you know, like she's a good person to talk to. And I do value that a lot. I'm not a person that likes to complain, like not saying I never complain, but I try not to. You know, if I catch myself complaining, I try to like, okay, this is pointless. You know, there's just kind of no point in complaining. It's not adding anything positive to any conversation ever. Not manifesting anything good for you. You know, there's just no point in doing it really. And again, not to say I never do. We all complain shit. You know, like I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try to catch myself and correct the behavior. But I do also think there's some value in like being able to get things off your chest, or at least for me, like as a person who will have those arguments with people in my head, if someone pisses me off, I'll then like justify what I said in my head over and over again. And like that will, you know, eat up energy and time that I don't want it to. And sometimes the only way to like shut that voice up in my head is to like get it out and talk to somebody about it. And so like my sister's been that person lately, and I do think it's like important to maybe have someone that you can vent to or talk to and be able to get it out sometimes, but also like keeping it in check, and like you said, not then hanging up and calling your other best friend and going, bitch, you won't believe what the fuck you know, like it doesn't have to be a gossip thing. It shouldn't be a gossip thing. Like just like I was saying about complaining, gossiping is doing nothing good for anybody or adding anything positive to anybody's life. All you're doing is just dwelling on negative shit and talking about it and reinforcing more negative stuff. So it's like pointless. And again, not to say I've never done it and I never do it, but I try to catch myself because there's just no point in doing it. But I do think it's okay to have someone to vent to and to want to get things off your chest. And sometimes the only way to do that is to like get it out. But be honest with yourself, and like once you get it out, let's move on. You know, like it doesn't have to be something we dwell on, and it doesn't have to, like, especially like with relationship stuff, and like you may never convince that person to see your side of things, you know? And if you let that eat you up, you know, like we were talking about earlier, what other people think of you, or like the vision that other people have of you, that ex of yours may never have the vision of you that you want them to, and you may never be able to say anything to convince them otherwise or change their opinion of you. And you're just going to have to be able to live with that. Otherwise, it's going to eat you up forever. But why are you going to you can't let that happen. I think it's okay to vent and to have someone to talk to, but you need to
keep it in check.
Keep it in check and be honest with yourself, and not let it get to the point of gossiping and complaining, because that's not adding any value to anybody, including yourself.
And that's why it's important to have a small group of very close people, because you can vent to those people, the 1-2 people, and get it off your chest. You need to get it out of you. But then you need to figure out the solution, because otherwise all you're doing is gossiping.
Right.
you're not wanting to find a solution because you just want to gossip to every single person about what just happened to you.
Yes.
Because
That's
whether
good.
you want sympathy for it or you want to be told you were right or like whatever
All
those
the
reasons
above.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've all done it, you
Sure.
know,
Yeah.
and I believe with you, I can admit myself, like we've all had that argument in our head with that person after the fact where you're like, oh, fuck, I should have said this or I could have
Right.
said that. And like, oh, I could have made it go this way. But again, because you're saying it, the words are coming out of your mouth. You've gotten to that point in your life of the mindset that you're able to notice it right away and snip it in the bud.
Yeah.
You're able to accept the emotion, accept the thought, express it to one or two people to get it out of your system, and then move on from it.
Yeah.
You're never going to let it go completely. I don't know yet. I think that's a process of what we're trying to do in life is
Sure.
let go of our past so that we can enjoy our present. But that takes time. And sometimes that could take more than your lifetime, depending on the situation.
Sure.
And the daily practice of whatever practices you have will inevitably help you live better by practicing them.
I like what you said there about, vent and get it out and then start working on the solution. Because yes, I think that's exactly what it is. And sometimes maybe that person that you're venting to will help you figure out that solution, But I think like for me personally, that's exactly what makes me start feeling better is figuring out or like just starting to work towards the solution. I don't have to have it solved yet or fix everything, but just taking, acknowledging what I can do to be better and start taking their steps in that direction is what kind of alleviates that anxiety or that like negative chatter in my head after situations like that. Like just to give a vague example, hopefully it's vague enough. In like this thing I was dealing with recently, I got called like a bunch of names that didn't feel very good, And even if I didn't agree with that or, what I was being called, if I'm making someone feel that way, then I wanted to kind of give some weight to it a little bit and entertain, or like explore that aspect, And if the things I'm doing is making someone feel that way, then how do I need to communicate moving forward to not make them feel that way? There's obviously something that I'm doing wrong with the way that I'm talking or reacting that is causing my words to come across this way. And so how can I correct that moving forward so that doesn't keep happening? And even if I can't convince this person to say I'm not those things that they think I am, me knowing that I'm working towards being better silenced that argument in my head. You know what I mean? I may never convince that person to go, you're actually not that. I changed my mind, and that's fine. But I know that I was able to walk away from that and then go, okay, how can I work on my communication so that I don't make another person feel that way? And that was able to shut up that voice in my head going, oh man, I can't believe she fucking said that. And now I'm, it doesn't matter what that person thinks. It matters what you're doing to correct the behavior.
And it's admirable of you to have that thought of what can I do so that I don't make another person feel this way about me?
Yeah.
I'm going to go on the flip side of that and say, and not say that you're perfect because we're not. I'm sure we have done things that allow that person to feel that way.
You just haven't seen the old Pete yet.
But the bigger picture is this. If at the end of the day, when you are able to get rid of those voices and look at yourself in the mirror and evaluate your position in that situation and truly unbiasedly say, okay, I was 85% like good all the time. And maybe on occasion, maybe I could have been more attentive. Maybe I could have, but at the same time, I was trying to do this for us. The way that person feels that you were is, again, going back to the beginning topic about the different versions of us in our head and in others, is that person's interpretation of you based on what they hold inside. And if they are choosing to find something in the way in which you're saying or doing something, so they in their own mind have validation to push you away.
Yeah.
It's a whole other way to look at it.
It is a whole other way to look at it.
Now, because this window's been open and we're going to close this up in a second. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately based on generalization of the situation based on what I visibly see people doing. It's interesting to me when those parties find something so quickly and are now just reliving the highlight reel with the new as they did with the old.
Sure.
So in my mind, they were already living the new highlight reel before the old highlight reel was done.
I understand.
And therefore, they start putting shit on the other person.
Yes.
Right? So that they can then feel validated when they say, this is how I interpret you.
Right.
So.
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just funny how that whole conversation went from versions of ourselves interpreted by other people to just full circling that and finishing it off with that.
Yeah, that is interesting, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah, it's fun talking to you.
Yeah, because again, like if we look at the topics on the board, like half of them we hit, but most of that was just in the organic conversation.
Yeah,
yeah. And unfortunately, it's a heavy topic to bring up, and then obviously you want to talk more about it and try to analyze it. But at the end of the day, my point to this is always the person that you see in the mirror at the end of the night or before you go to bed or whatever your routine is. When I get home, I shower before bed.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, I wipe the fog off the window and I look at that person and I very quickly, dude, you did good today.
Yeah.
You fucking did good today. I'm happy with you.
Yeah.
You know, but there are days where I'm like, dude, you could have done more. Dude, you allowed that person, place, or thing affect you today. And you are living a life of saying you don't let those things happen.
Right.
So you have to evaluate that at the end of every day. But as long as you know in your heart that you've put out a good effort, that you tried to be a better person, or you try to be the best version of yourself today, and that you're willing to give it a little more effort tomorrow, there are those of us that want to be 1% better tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And all the other stuff doesn't really matter. Everyone out there in the Lyfe Choyces land, all of Peter Price, Petecasso, all of his information is down below. Still doing the tattooing if you want to get some sick art here in West Palm Beach tattooed on your body. If you want to just talk to him, because as you can tell, he has a lot to talk about. I look forward to the next time we sit down and have another conversation here.
Me too, man.
All
I
right.
love it every time.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming back each and every week here on the Lyfe Choyces podcast. We'll see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Peace.
Much love.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You are now about
The Journey, Lyfe Choyces podcast.